The day Taylor Swift put on a graduation gown with a smile on her face and tossed her cap into the air, many people couldn't believe what they were seeing.
Hi, I'm Taylor.
It was May 18th, 2022, and the famous American singer, at 33 years old, received an honorary doctorate from New York University without having spent even a single day in a university classroom. That celebration, standing among hundreds of other graduates, wasn't just a special moment for Taylor. It became a source of inspiration for many. After that day, a lot of people likely imagined themselves in that gown and cap at NYU, standing on stage in the middle of applause and excitement. But let's take a step back. Where did this dream come from in the first place? When did graduating from an American university become one of the symbols of success? And more importantly, how much does that cap really cost for people like you and me? The story starts after World War II. The United States was faced with millions of soldiers returning from the front lines, people who had to reintegrate into everyday life. So in 1944, the government passed a law called the GI Bill that provided veterans with financial support for education, housing loans, and even unemployment assistance. The result was a massive boom in college enrollment. In 1945, around 88,000 people went to college through the GI Bill. Just 1 year later, that number jumped to over 1 million. By 1956, about 7.8 million people had used the GI Bill for education. The 1950s and 60s became the golden era of higher education in America. College enrollment rose from 2.3 million students in 1947 to over 8 million by 1970. Going to college was no longer just a dream. It was becoming a reachable path. But the story didn't stay so ideal. In 1973, the Arab oil embargo hit the U.S. economy hard. A recession followed, budgets were cut, and the cost of living soared. The government could no longer support education the way it used to. By the 1980s, with neoliberal policies on the rise, higher education began shifting toward privatization. The result? Tuition fees started rising, government aid decreased, and now students had to take on more of the financial load themselves. Student loans became the only way forward for many, but they came with interest rates that weren't exactly low. By 2024, the number of college students in the U.S. reached 19.3 million, about 6% of the total population. Nearly half of them rely on student loans to continue their studies, and 90% of those loans are federal with interest rates between 6 and 9%. While the number of students receiving aid has gone down, the total amount of aid distributed has gone up. In 2024, for example, 6.3 million students received $33.9 billion in aid. In 2017, 8.3 million students received only $27.7 billion. But behind all these numbers lies a warning. A crisis is on the horizon. Nearly 50 years after the oil recession, student debt has become one of the biggest economic issues in the U.S. By 2024, total student debt reached the staggering amount of $1.75 trillion. In some states, graduates are stepping into the real world with nearly $40,000 in debt. Just think about it. $1.75 trillion is enough to buy Cybertrucks for 25 million Americans, and that's from Elon Musk no less. And that's not the end of it. By 2025, only 38% of borrowers were actively repaying their loans. That number used to be 60% before COVID. Around 15% of students were over 90 days late on their payments. Nearly 10 million people are at risk of default or bankruptcy. What's default? It means you haven't made a loan payment for more than 270 days. The consequences? Damaged credit, penalties, legal action, loss of federal aid. And the problems just keep piling up. All of this has made many people take the U.S. off their list of study destinations before they even get started. Sure, a lot of people still believe in the American dream, but it's worth asking, is studying in the U.S. with all its costs still worth it? Let's look at a simple comparison using the 2025 Times Higher Education Rankings, which evaluated over 2,000 universities from 115 countries based on 6 core criteria. The Technical University of Munich in Europe is ranked 26th. New York University in the U.S. is ranked 33rd. Annual tuition at Munich? about 10,000 euros, which is roughly $12,000. Annual tuition at NYU, around $60,000. And that's not even counting the high cost of living in the US, which is a whole separate issue. So for universities with similar rankings, you'd be paying 3 to 5 times more just to be in the United States. It's also worth noting that some American universities spend millions just to maintain their positions in the global rankings. For example, between 2018 and 2019, NYU spent over $28.5 million on advertising. And now we come back to that original question. When Taylor Swift tossed her graduation cap into the sky without ever sitting in a class, how much did that moment really cost us? And more importantly, with all its glory and reputation, is higher education in America still worth the price?